Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh. Today, we have big breaking news coming in about Kara Eastman's big win in Nebraska, 2nd District. That's very good to hear. We're going to be talking about that for you. And also the other elections going on in the country tonight, in Nebraska and, of course, abroad. We're also going to be talking about the latest news on the coronavirus, including the HEROES Act and which is going to be the Democratic response, and how it delivers a unfortunately large windfall to the healthcare industry. We're going to be talking about it, breaking down how that can be. Also, the problem with COVID cops. We'll explain exactly a little bit more about those coming up on the show today. So, yeah, we're going to try and do that on roughly 30 minutes, which is going to be very, very hard. But first we start with this news here live today. Kara Eastman has won the Democratic primary in Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. Nebraska is holding its presidential primary and congressional primary on May 12th. It was a big thing because Bernie Sanders obviously been out of the race. Not many people were going to be able to vote for him that probably otherwise would have if he was still in there and actively campaigning. And that's a big thing. That's a big part of it. And it's more of a big deal than you really would originally expect, but they still are actually holding on relatively well. Right now here in the California, let's just quickly, before we get into the Wisconsin thing, which is the only real major news, polls are set to close here at the top of the hour at 11 p.m. The race to replace former Representative Katie Hill will be decided tonight, or has been decided already, but the votes can take a long time to count, so we will not expect too much. Polls have just closed, or will close there very soon, as I just mentioned. The special election to replace Katie Hill, the woman kicked out of Congress pretty much on kind of BS picture leaks, and it's going to be a very close election between the state assemblywoman Christy Smith, the very centrist woman who lost out in a kind of crazy general election that featured the host of TYT, who kind of ran a pretty awful campaign there. And he's going to be facing the Navy pilot Mike Garcia on the Republican side. And it's set to be a very, very close race in Los Angeles and Ventura counties, which is going to be interesting because you think, well, Ventura, Los Angeles, liberal places. Mike Garcia is looking to scrape in there. Meanwhile, Tom Tiffany, the Republican who won in the 7th congressional district in Wisconsin, got campaign contributions from PACs associated with Koch Industries. That's a warning sign for Republicans in Wisconsin. Among the top backers of Tom Tiffany are Liz and Dick Uline, conservative mega donors who own a vacation home in Manitowish Waters, a resort in a village in Wisconsin 7th. So they are pretty big. Tom Tiffany and Tricia Zunker are expected to face off in the Wisconsin November 7th general election. That's what's going on in California. The Wisconsin 7th, Tom Tiffany, that was the big result there, as Tom Tiffany beat Tricia Zunker. This was actually a special election, so that was the big win. Tricia Zunker getting defeated 57-42 in the big bastion, Republican bastion, really, of the Wisconsin 7th District. Actually, I don't know how big that is, but I don't quite know. But I don't know the Cook PVI on that district. But, of course, Nebraska, Joe Biden won the Nebraska primary, obviously because Bernie Sanders is out, but still on the ballot. But the big statewide races here are, of course, in the U.S. Senate. There we have U.S. Senate. Janicek won. Sass won his Republican primary, which is, I guess, a little bit of big news. But in the biggest one that we're talking about here, this is in the 2nd district. Kara Eastman, 61% winning here. So Kara Eastman, she won the Democratic primary in Nebraska's 2nd district, which includes the city of Omaha and it's the top and some of the surrounding suburbs. And is a top target for Democrats to win in the House of Representatives and in the Electoral College in this November. Nebraska's second one for Barack Obama in 2008, but then swung to Mitt Romney in 2012 and President Donald Trump in 2016. But the hope here is, since America's suburbs are continuing to trend blue, Democrats should be able to defeat Republican Representative Don Bacon there. That would be definitely see a kind of blue spot in what should be a typically very red region of the country. Last year, Cara Eastman ran. She won in the primary last year, and 51-49 lost in probably one of the closest possible margins that you'll see, really, to Cara Eastman. Actually, there are a fair amount of closer margins than that, but still, it's very, very close. 51-49, Bacon with the win there. But yeah, the two major candidates competing for the nomination were Eastman, the 2018 Democratic nominee, who lost to Bacon by just 2 percentage points, as I mentioned, and Ann Ashford, who is an attorney, healthcare advocate, and former healthcare advocate, wink, wink, and wife of former Representative Brad Ashford, who represented the district from 2015 to 2017, which was a very southern thing to do, almost, really, right? To get the wife of the political titan in to run. Like George and Lurleen Wallace, that was an example of when that was done. So that's kind of an interesting look at it. While Eastman is a progressive who embraces flagship policies like Medicare for All and a Green New Deal, shout out to Cara Eastman. She's moderated her campaign message somewhat since her 2018 run, which is interesting. See if we get a bit interesting strategy for leftists to follow. Still, Ashford has attacked Eastman for being too far left, arguing the 2018 loss against Bacon proves her positions make her unelectable in the district. We have destroyers and we have builders. I'm a builder, so we have to recognize the issues that we have in place and address the problems. Ashford told the CBS affiliate KMTV3 of how she sees the differences between her and Eastman. On Monday, the prominent representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez sent out a blast to her campaign emails fundraising list for Eastman. Establishment forces have been aligned against Cara since the beginning. The email said in 2018, Cara came within 2 points of defeating the incumbent Republican, but the Democratic Party still tried to recruit a different challenger. Instead of uniting behind her, they tried to find someone with fewer progressive policies, planks to run instead. So obviously in reference to her opponent there, Ashford, but Ashford has been vanquished. So that is good to see. We love to see the vanquishing of Ashford and the rise of Cara Eastman. So it is good to see. So 61.3, a pretty fairly solid win there. So shout out to her, Cara Eastman, for the big win. All right, we're going to talk about what's going on with the coronavirus, what health experts are saying about the possibilities of reopening, how they recommend we proceed. That's next. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very exciting Spencer Walsh Radio Network announcement for you. Join us May 16th for the series premiere of That's Interesting, our brand new show where we talk about the most interesting things happening in our culture during this crazy time. Whether it be books, movies, TV shows, whatever you need to watch, listen, or experience in any way, we will tell you about it on That's Interesting. So join us May 16th for a special Saturday premiere. All episodes afterwards will be on Fridays, and really experience the best of culture, all through the guidance of the Spencer Walsh Radio Network, as I will be bringing very, very special guests on for that time. So looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks on That's Interesting. Subscribe now. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, very, very excited about all that stuff coming out May 16th. We're finishing up recording, putting the final touches on the season right now. So very, very exciting stuff. We're going to put in a little bit of music, even though it's normally going to be on culture's territory. We could see a little bit of music talk in that season as well, with some great special guests, as I mentioned. So, yeah, we're going to get right into it today as we start with the coronavirus news. Health experts warning now of a reopening the country too soon, as two of the federal government's top health officials painted a grim picture of the months ahead on Tuesday, as a Senate committee that the coronavirus pandemic, a Senate committee the coronavirus pandemic was far from contained. Just a day after the president really, I think, laughably said, "We have met the challenge and we have prevailed." The officials, Dr. Fauci, as you know, the nation's top infectious disease expert, well know at this point. Dr. Robert R. Redfield, the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, he also predicted dire consequences of the nation reopening the economy too soon, noting the United States still lacked the critical testing capacity and ability to trace the contacts of those affected. The kind of contact tracing, test and trace that we've heard so much about. That is something that will be relatively, like, the U.S. just does not have that infrastructure in place yet, as we well know. If economic interests were allowed to override public health concerns, Fauci warned there is a real risk that you will trigger an outbreak that you may not be able to control. That could not only result in some suffering and death that could be avoided, but he said it could set you back on the road to trying to get back to the economic recovery. So if you see people dying in massive numbers, if that's in the news every day, which it will be if there is a second wave of this, that's also going to really be pretty painful economically for a lot of people to deal with. Like, not everybody is that desperate, though. But again, I kind of go back and forth with it on this, because if it's not I really don't put it that past Americans. Like, I really don't put it past Americans in such a degree, at least some of them, to just be like casually going out every day when there are 3,000 plus people dying, if this thing is just kind of left and allowed to get out of control. Like, I definitely do see a fraction of the population just continuing on like nothing's happening, because everything's okay, because I can do what I want, and if I get it, I get it. If I die, I die. Like, whatever. It all seems so abstract until something actually happens. Like, I totally believe there are people out there who are like, yeah, just put me back in harm's way. I don't care. If 3,000 people are dying every day in my country, I will act like nothing is happening and just continue exactly the way I had originally planned it, because of the fact that I need my comforts in life and I can't live without my comforts. Like, that is what it's all about. And I really saw this kind of great political cartoon about it. This should be, I think, put in future history tests, like, as to analyze this cartoon, the point of view of this cartoon, because it's such I think a pretty accurate description of what's going on here. I know I liked it on my Twitter, but it is a really great image of what's going on. So it's pretty much a big fat guy with his belly hanging out, with a Punisher tattoo on one arm that's being attended to by a tattoo artist, I think. No, that's a doctor. They're all wearing masks. There's a guy cutting his long hair, or a woman cutting his long hair with a mask. There's a guy like timidly serving him fast food, a guy bringing him his package, and a guy shining his shoes, and a guy like cleaning his nails or whatever. But I think it's really kind of excellent, because, and then of course the shirt says very hilariously, "Let us work." Yeah, let us work, as in sit on my fat ass all day and yell at people from my manager's office. Like that. Like, that's kind of those are the people out there. They're not the people who are getting hurt by this. This is not a insurrection of people who are being downtrodden by this whole thing. It just isn't at this point. It very well could be. People very well just be like, please do something. We need to get back to work. And this being America, we protest to get back to work and don't even think to demand anything else more from our government before doing so. I mean, like, it's not this kind of populist working class revolution. It's a revolution, or it's really just a protest of people who just want other people to work for them again. Like that. Like, that's what this is about. There's some of the worst people in America. So there is no doubt about that in my mind. But it kind of talks more about this whole situation. The doctor's downbeat assessments came really as the death toll in the United States here surpassed 82,000. Again, all reporting so far from the New York Times. And of course, earlier about the car Eastman stuff was from the Business Insider. And on a day when all three branches of government continue to adapt, new realities brought about by the virus. Senator Lamar Alexander, Republican of Tennessee, who, like Dr. Fauci and Dr. Redfield, is in quarantine after being exposed to the coronavirus, presided for the committee's chairman as the committee's chairman from his home in Maryville, Tennessee. At the same time, the Supreme Court justices were gathering by telephone to referee a constitutional dispute between the president and Congress. At the White House, aides and reporters were wearing masks, were tested for the virus, and Vice President Mike Pence kept away from the president. It seemed that managing